I don't know if you're aware, I talk about it a lot, but some people still are surprised that I used to be a professional storyboard artist. So a storyboard artist is every commercial you see, every cartoon show, every movie, someone has to draw out essentially what's happening in the movie so the director can use it to guide himself through different shots and angles and close-ups and all that stuff. So I did that for years for TV commercials. I started by drawing commercials for Littlest Pet Shops. That was my first job. I was 21, I think, or 22. And then it slowly moved up. So I did a lot for DSW. I did a lot of hair and shampoo because I was a fashion illustrator. Then I did Lexus, I did 7-Up. Like, the quicker you can work and the quicker you can draw, the more, work you get. And then that's the job that brought me to New York. And then I started doing open mics at night, and now I do stand-up. But I can still draw. And I bring my iPad with me all the time. So I thought I would do like a demonstration today and draw something and draw really popular characters. So I'm gonna draw a very popular Disney character, and I'm just gonna draw Ursula, kind of guide you in how I draw it. This is a program called Procreate that I use. And when you say you draw on the iPad, I think people don't understand that you're still drawing. So just to give you an example of me drawing something. It's just drawing for my head. So a lot of this was like kind of from my fashion illustration days. Stephen Miller, who was my teacher, who was amazing. And a lot of the secret in drawing and getting those like really fine lines is erasing. But anyways, this is like what we would call like a quick sketch. But a lot of this was used for that kind of drawing, like those kind of drawing of like sort of fashiony women and stuff was used for commercials. I'm gonna start, we're just gonna do Ursula, okay? So I have a picture of Ursula in front of me so I don't make any mistake. And let's just start. Now, so you wanna kind of get a general shape, right? So Ursula's got her head, her cheeks, and then her, her chin area. And I get that I'm drawing really, really fast here, but also that was one of the things as a storyboard artist is that you had to be able to draw fast because they would want like 30 drawings in a weekend. And so when you would get the job, like you had to just quit everything you were doing that weekend and just stay home and draw, and you were up all night. I'm getting what we call like a kind of like general outline, right? So you don't have to worry about too much. And you can do the same process with a pencil, a sketch with a pencil, and then you do like the fine lines over. So I'm just looking at this picture, she's got her ridiculous eyebrows. By the way, Ursula was based after Divine, the drag queen in the John Waters movies. There's something about these Disney villains where they all share the same eyes. Like they all have the same like heavy eyelid makeup. Like Maleficent has this, and okay, we're gonna draw her mouth.
Do you remember the first time you watched The Little Mermaid?
I did, and even to this day, I'm not a huge Little Mermaid fan. I was the kid who loved Maleficent. I was obsessed with Maleficent. I wanted everything Maleficent. And to me, any other villain was just like a wannabe Maleficent. And I still have those feelings today. I did not like the Angelina Jolie version. And I like Angelina Jolie a lot, but Mark Davis, he really knew how to draw convincing female characters. I mean, the hardest thing to do is to draw specifically men. Men are very difficult to draw. In the original Snow White, the prince is not in it a lot because men were very hard to draw. Yeah, the original Snow White is mainly about the dwarves because those are just kind of like these fluid characters. Sleeping Beauty was really, really highly stylized because their art director, Ivan Earl, who they brought on just for that movie, and then he left. He hated working at Disney. He had his idea of what he wanted, and Disney supported him, and the other animators did not like that they sort of strayed away from, having most of the control. But Disney was busy building the theme park and stuff then. So anyways, it was a combination between Ivan Earl and Mark Davis, which made Sleeping Beauty so unique. Okay, so what we're gonna do now that I kind of have my sketch, and this isn't a lesson to teach you, more so my process because I realize my process is pretty. So what you do is you can thin down that layer, and then we can add a layer over. And now I can kind of get into more details, right? So I can kind of thin my line, and I can just play around. Yeah, Ursula is fun because she's a fun villain to draw because she's very round, and she must have been very fun to animate. My mom was an artist, and I'm not just saying like my mom was an artist, like my mom was very talented. Her drawings as a kid looked like my drawings as a kid. I just drew at home. I was motivated by myself.
What were you drawing when you were younger?
X-Men, Predator, Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent, Sailor Moon, Nothing's changed. The interesting thing about being a kid and drawing, it is a diary, what you're thinking of as a kid. When I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I could see what I was interested in and see where I was in my life because it's documented. My mom always encouraged me, but I don't think, I mean, we didn't have money. So it wasn't like I was thrown into these classes and learned, like I didn't learn how to oil paint till I got to school. And then I became obsessed with oil painting. See her eyebrows. She has some really menacing eyebrows. I love that she has like her folds in her eyelids.
What's your favorite thing to draw with other than, like, say you're not drawing?
Still to this day, my favorite thing to draw with is pencil and paper. Nothing beats it. Pencil, paper. Everything else, I don't know. It's just the most like immediate for me. Yeah, when I was a kid, so a way for me to make money, you know, because I always worked retail, but a way for me to make money was my mom she worked at a school. Anyone who had a party, my mom would give them my portfolio. I would do drawings, like caricature drawings, and then I would show up at these like parties of like all these adults drunk, and I would draw, and I made money. I walked away like making like $300 on a weekend when you're 15. Oh yeah. You know, caricatures, people always think it's like the worst version of you. I always made people look really good, you know? I was always kind of romanticizing people, and I think that was the fashion illustrator in me. And then when I learned how to oil paint, my teachers were like, stop making everyone pretty. And I was like, but I got paid to. And when you learn to oil paint, that was very interesting for me. But I loved painting, and I had really great teachers. Dan Gustin, who I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and Dan Gustin, who was one of my teachers who I loved. I also just got paintings from Marion Krishkov, one of my teachers that passed away. Thank you, Big Chicks in Chicago, for sending me those paintings. If you're in Chicago, go to Big Chicks. And so I'm gonna have those put on my wall, so I get to have a piece of my teacher on the wall, which I really love.
So what are you doing right now?
I'm just going over the line work. The trick with teeth is never draw all the teeth. That is mistake number one.
You could redesign one cartoon character, who would it be?
I would change Belle's hair in Beauty and the Beast. Every time she had it down, I liked it better, but I just never liked her hair. The whole movie, I thought, I don't like your hair. Okay, we're almost done. But yeah, I remember being in art school, and that was one of the happiest I ever was in life because I was finally good at school.
Hardest assignment in art school?
I was living in Italy, and I was at this painting school that was like a foreign exchange school, basically. And I remember my teacher, Dan Gustin, came up to me, and I was painting a tree, and there was no real motivation behind it. And he was like, why are you painting this tree? I mean, his philosophy was sort of that painting is mental. Technique takes a back seat to like the mental blocks that people put themselves through. And he was right, because I remember like everyone would always cry. And he would do this thing where he would walk up to people in class, and like they would always say, you're not working on the masterpiece, you're working towards it, which is something that I've always held on to and really helps get over failure or get over not succeeding right away. Anyways, he would walk up to kids in class and just take a black paint brush and stroke through it. How they would react is based off how he would teach them. So I was painting this tree, and he was like, you know what a tree looks like. And I don't know why, it became this big battle back and forth, and he was like, stop trying to paint something that you think you know and go look at something that you don't know. And so he dragged me over to this alley with a couple cars parked, nothing interesting. He goes, now paint it. And stop thinking about that and just paint what you see. And it was the process of having to remove the mental blocks of how I think a car looks or how a tree looks and just paint what I see and keep in that flow. And it was like a groundbreaking painting for me because it changed completely how I painted or viewed painting or thought about painting. And so I'm done, but let me add a couple of my own flares in here. And one thing that you can do that I learned in fashion illustration class, Stephen Miller, a great teacher, having thick lines on the outside and thin lines on the inside to help create dimension. So sometimes I just go through and do that. We're being pretty general here. I mean, I think I'm pretty much done. Okay, so this is my Ursula. And then I guess I can color it. So let's see, you can see in she's kind of got like a purpley skin. I would say that's about right. Maybe this is a little, let's go a little brighter and take down some of the saturation. Yeah, that's more of her. And then so her hair is kind of a gray with white. Now what I do, and this comes from my painting days, I throw on the color and kind of mold my way into it.
What are your favorite artists that you like looked up to when you were
Well, in school I was learning how to paint and how to see color, and the first person that kind of broke things up for me was Lucian Freud, British painter. He just passed, but he painted almost sculptural, and he painted like each plane of your skin or each color of your skin, because you have so much color happening. As a young painter, it really kind of helped showcase like, oh, this is painting, I see. And you can see a lot of young painters' works today who are influenced by him.
What about now?
I still think John Singer Sargent's the best. When you're in college or when you're learning how to paint, I because I was a representational painter, kind of, poo-pooed anything that wasn't, real painting in my eyes. The older you get, the more forgiving you are. And I really start to I like seeing the differences in people's line work or just different ways that people express themselves. I think it's really interesting. And a lot of paintings are bullshit. A lot of art is just complete bullshit, and people can just kind of pass it off as art because rich people don't understand art and they want to seem cool, and so they buy all these really rich, expensive paintings that are pretty bad, but that is the painting market, so. Oh well, I didn't live in that world. I did storyboarding. Storyboarding was, I remember being in school thinking okay, that's fun to paint and draw, but all these kids I'm going to school with are really rich. I'm not, so I have to get a job. So I immediately went to the storyboarding classes. So I would do hand-drawn animation the first couple of years, and then I would do fashion illustration. And then that brought me to storyboarding classes, and those teachers were very much, they were really encouraging with me. The fashion illustration classes with Steve Miller taught me really quickly how to draw the human body. And I'm not talking about stick figure model, how to move the body, how to proportion the body, and those classes got me all my jobs when I graduated. They have what they call storyboarding houses. I don't know if they have them as much anymore, but they have what they call storyboarding houses. A bunch of storyboarding artists, usually kind of retired animators who are looking for pickup gigs and stuff, but they're all skilled, older, usually guys, straight guys. I was 22 and I was drawing commercials, but I just draw so fast. It helps you in animation and does not help you in oil painting. So those two classes were always competing with each other in terms of what my teachers were telling me what was helpful and what wasn't helpful. But it was good because I was learning two very different skills at the same time. And I found that oil painting made me such a better artist. I had to take color theory classes. I had to understand color. I had to understand light, and I was a fucking sponge. I would get there as early as possible, and I would stay as late as possible, and I would ask a million questions, and I went home and I would paint, and we didn't have money, so I had to make my way through school by working. So I worked at Blick, had really good friends at Blick. So I just completely surrounded myself with art, which I did the same thing with stand-up once I became a stand-up comedian. All right, so now I have my colors laid out. So now what I have to do is go in and erase. No, I would go back, and with all the knowledge that I have now, I would absolutely go back. If I didn't have any other commitments, I would go back and do everything with the knowledge that I have now. Because remember, when I went to art school, I didn't do art class in high school, and I got into the best art college in the world with a few drawings, and it was crazy. It was a crazy moment. And so I was playing catch up. I was learning how to oil paint, how to use charcoal, how to use watercolor, how to do all this stuff, and I had 4 years to do it, and I basically rushed it, and I got so good so quick. And now I would love to go back, take a sabbatical and take 2 years and just live downtown Chicago and just become consumed with art again. It was a time in my life when I could do it. I can't do it anymore. All right, so I have my basic drawing now of Ursula. Now to add some layers to her, what I like to do, and I learned this from my friend Eric Harmon, who's a really great artist, go to a multiply layer and shrink it down to about 36. And now we're just gonna start adding some shadow on her. And because it's a different layer, you can see. Now when you're adding shadow into somebody, you want to pick your light source. But yeah, I would love to go back to art school. I actually would really enjoy that. I just don't know if I can. And it would be different, it wouldn't be. That's when I was new, and I was everything felt new, and I was discovering myself and my sexuality and all that stuff. Different now. I don't know. but I would still love to do it. We had a lot of strange people. You go to art school, you get a lot of weird people. One of the photos on the second floor of the Columbus building, they had the photo of the week. So whoever the photographer was they picked, you can put it up. They picked this girl. She did a photo shoot with her friend, obviously, and the photo was her drinking a beer from the ground up. They were shooting it, and she's drinking a beer. Her pants were down, vagina out, and she was pissing, a stream of piss. It was huge, and everyone was just staring at it. And my teacher, Marion Krishko, walked up, the one whose paintings I have, and he was like, "That's a fucking great piece of work," and kept walking. I was like, where am I? But that was art school, you know? It was about like shocking people, you know? I think things might have changed, I don't know. Or maybe they haven't, I have no idea, you know, who knows, I'm old, I don't know anymore. They have you do a lot of what they call recreation paintings in art school. And the purpose of it is so that you can look at another artist and kind of get an idea of what they were going for and see their line work, etc. And so I loved Joaquin Sorolla. My favorite painting though is by Robert Henry, and Henri, so it looks like Robert Henry. It's called Herself, and it's at the Art Institute of Chicago, my school. That is my favorite painting of all time. I actually get emotional every time I go and look at it. Nick would cringe if you heard me say that, but it's true. I do get emotional. All right, so now I'm gonna go in and add my highlights, and then basically we're done. You know what I like to do? There's a texture layer that you can do in Procreate. Okay. Oh, let me add one here. It's gonna really pop. And that's it. That's my Ursula. It was quick, yeah. You know, some of the other stuff that I do, this is one that I did, and it can even show, and so you can see how I did it. And I remember once I was on a plane, there was this woman, she was watching Fox, so I hated her. And she just seemed real bitchy, and she was mean to the flight attendants and stuff, so I sat right next to her and I thought, what's the ugliest thing that I can draw? Believe you me, I drew Predator. A bleeding pussy with an alien face just right next to her every time she looked over. Because people are interested when they see you draw on the plane, they can't believe it. Yeah. And then this is what I drew. I mean, I did a sergeant painting. I did a lot of these, you know, like I did a Halloween Sailor Moon, just cause, I guess, I don't know. I loved this one. I did Hades from Hercules. Well, I hope this was interesting. It was more serious than usual, but that's me drawing. And if you guys enjoy it, I can do more where we draw. Thank you, everybody. Come to see me on the road. Get my book, Your Pasta Sucks, A Cookbook with Matteo Lane. All links in bio, MatteoLaneComedy.com. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.